St. Lucia and the rest of the Caribbean community, known as CARICOM, are calling for a coherent plan to meet the United Nations post-2015 development agenda. Our correspondent in St. Lucia now, Allison Kentish, with this report.
Countries in the Caribbean are determined to highlight and raise awareness of the unique challenges they face in pursuing sustainable development goals. St. Lucia's Sustainable Development Minister says the region must decide how to transition from Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. He says it is important that the discussions at the UN Summit in September take into account the immediate and medium-term constraints facing the region.
As you know, the 8 MDGs will be replaced by 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets. That will come with its own set of pressures, its own set of mechanisms that we have to put in place at the domestic level, because MDGs were already the purview of the Ministry of Community Development or Social Transformation. SDGs is everybody's business.
Governments across CARICOM have made a concerted effort to get the average citizen speaking about climate change issues. Recently, they solicited the help of artists and media workers to help inform populations about the impacts of climate change. As for the issues he wants governments to tackle to protect the environment, Jason Hullingseed says converting waste to energy should be high on the agenda.
We see all the plastics in the drains. We see, plastics, all over the place, especially when it rains. Those, of course, those always, have a significant impact on the country on a whole. It leads to flooding, in the capital. It leads to flooding and landslides, and contributes to that in other communities, throughout the island. So I think that is one of the major issues that needs to be addressed is, proper garbage disposal. How do we get rid of all the plastics, and whether we set up a waste to energy project.
Another resident, Miguel Favre, believes that climate change awareness must start with every individual. He says people need to be more aware of the impact of littering on the environment.
I think our laws should become a bit more draconian, particularly as it relates to climate change mitigation efforts. And I'm talking about things like littering. Oftentimes we see a sign saying $5,000 penalty for dumping of garbage, yet we still see garbage all around it. There is no form, of surveillance and that kind of stuff. And I think that we should start personally. Everybody should do their own bits, play their own parts to mitigate against the effects of climate change.
Sustainable development officials in St. Lucia see the successful implementation of the new agenda will depend on a flexible framework to mobilize financing for transformative, people-centered development. Allison Kentish, Telesur, St. Lucia.